Can you imagine what it's like to come to school scared that you might be discriminated against, that you will not safe at school or even in public? Well, I didn't have to imagine, because that was my lived experience at 16. This video will show you my educational philosophers being bell hooks and Ken Robinson, but I must state who I am, as this is a major impact on me, which by influence has also majorly caused the kind of teacher that I want to be. My name is Easton, and I'm a transgender man that came out at age 14. And despite all odds, I am here today to teach the future generation and show them that when the world is not built for someone like you, that is the world's problem and that is not your own. My personal education philosophy surrounds creating relationships with my students and becoming a safety net for them. I believe that teaching is a job well done if my students can learn something from me while feeling connected to me at the same time. My classroom will be a place where students become learners, but also ready to create social change in the world. I would accommodate all my students and let them have a choice in their education. I will do this by creating a sticky note delivery system where it'll be left on their desk, or a one-on-one meeting with them. This will help them to accommodate for what they feel is right for their own personal education and their own rights. Teaching students is a little bit like baking brownies. Let me show you. Bell hooks would agree that you must know your students and know how they not only learn, but how you can connect with them through engaging with their interests. To be a conscious teacher, I must prepare my classroom to show that it is a place where love can occur. To establish this, I will set high expectations for myself as I set the oven to 180 degrees. My high expectations for myself as a teacher mean that my learning doesn't finish when I walk out of the 1399EDNA door. I will attend professional development courses such as positive behavior training by Team Teach. This will help me educate myself on the diverse learners in my class and how to communicate with them. QCAA has a professional development surrounding Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander student learning and how you can suit the marking criteria to their own form of learning, which would be a valuable learning resource as I want to make my students feel cared for and included when the world is not inclusive. Reading the instructions on the box stipulates that there are no shortcuts to teaching. As Rafe F. Squeef's class would agree, it is important for me as an educator to stay aware of the things that my students experience. Students come from a variety of backgrounds, whether that be low socioeconomic backgrounds, gender identity and sexuality, and that's just to name a few. I have to model to my students that I am a self-regulated adult and that it is normal to face overbearing feelings, but it matters how I cope with those feelings, as I know from personal experience that being shown that you can be grounded yet upset about something, that has had a major impact on how I regulate myself. Relating this back to my classroom, I will have a list of what students and myself can do if either of us feel overwhelmed, angry, sad. The list will include things like taking a walk, taking a breath for 30 seconds, waiting 20 seconds to respond to something that brings up feelings of anger, sadness, and also letting the teacher know that the student needs a break. Getting the ingredients ready is a parallel with teaching, as we can compare it to a teacher's toolbox and what various contexts they choose to teach from. Ken Robinson believes that there should be an essential balance of creative, technical, contextual, and critical contexts when teaching. I agree with this very highly. I think that while you teach, you must be adaptable, kind of like the texture and when you mix brownies. My classroom will adapt on my students' learning needs and their capabilities, but one thing that I refuse to change is the connections that I will make. I will constantly try and connect with my students. I will do this by hanging LGBTQ flags and the Australian Institute of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders of Australia with the correct cultural groups. As representing my students will create a bond with them, that they are safe here and cared for. As Ken Robinson would argue, education is a living, growing process, as these brownies grow in the oven. I will establish clear expectations for my students through collaborating with them on a class rules list and what we can expect from each other, as I am not exempt from the standards as to which I will hold my students to. This will create an environment in the classroom of the guidelines of how they can interact with each other and the teacher. I will listen to my students and be interested in the things that they are interested in, to make connections and to create a safe space for my students. Students are often dismissed at home, and depending on their family situation, neglect, abuse, and more, If students don't have a safe space to talk about their interests, I will hope to provide that with them by using open-ended questions about their interests.